First things first, I'm returning this because the gimbal on my unit has some sort of malfunction where it can't keep the horizon steady. So it swims around slightly as you're moving. It's a little tough to notice in the moment, but when you speed up the footage, like right here, you'll be able to see it very clearly. So contacted DJI, went through the typical lines of service where they have you calibrate the IMU, calibrate the compass, refresh the firmware through the DJI app on the computer. I refreshed it through my controller, etc. So we did all of that and it's still just swimming everywhere. So I also had a rep from DJI call me and say, hey, I see that you're returning your Mavic. He kind of half-heartedly sort of told me that it would be coming out in an update, like a fix for the gimbal. So, the big January update. Got it. So the update would fix the gimbal kind of washing all over the place.
I think I heard it from like 2 other customers.
Huh. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I've been through too many warranty processes with electronics to know that it's just not a fun process. And since I'm thankfully still within the return window, I am going to return it. Now let's talk about transfer speeds. I'm just here to tell you that pulling the data off of this 1 terabyte SSD is not easy and is not quick. I was unboxing this with my buddy Alex and I had the battery out and I was like, oh great, let's plug it in and take the data off the SSD. He looked at me and he said, bro, I bet you have to have the battery plugged in. And I was like, no, there's no way. So we plug in the fancy orange super high speed mega cord. Look, it's orange, which means it's extra fast. Into my computer, then into the drone, and nothing happens. So got to plug it in. Put the battery in, access the cable, plug it in, which means you always have to have a battery on hand that has at least half full on it. Because when I did the transfer, it went from 89% battery to 65% battery. So not half a battery, but just to be sure, it would be not a bad idea to have half a battery. Here's the issue. When I am working on a shoot, there's that moment at the end of the day where you hand your cards to the person in charge of all the data. The DIT, Digital Image Technician, I think, something like that. They take it, they dump it, they have a card reader for every type of media. And if they don't, then they just borrow yours. This is a little bit annoying because this is the card reader. The drone is the card reader. And you have to hand him the whole drone with a battery, with the cable. And you have to tell him, hey, you got to power on the drone, let it boot up, then plug it in, then do the transfer. Oh, by the way, it's going to start fast. Don't believe that estimate. Estimate's going to go way up. It's essentially USB 3.1 Gen 2. It's like a little bit faster than that. So the fastest speeds I was seeing right when I started the transfer was 700 megabytes per second, not megabits, megabytes, which is fast. It's fast. It's as fast as most like external SSD drives, like those G drives that you can buy and things like that. But it's not fast, not as fast as like the internal memory on your Mac if you have a newer SSD Mac. Not as fast as like NVMe. So I filled this up with 985 gigs of data and started the transfer. Transfer started out at about 750 megabytes per second, somewhere around there. And it just started slowing down at about the 10-minute mark. I could see it incrementally going slower and slower. So it would go to 600 megabytes, 500 megabytes, 400, and eventually it actually stuck at 192 megabytes per second. And it then stayed at that speed for a while, and then at one point it just ejected. The SSD just disconnected. So that was annoying. I had to start the whole transfer over again. Started back up at 750 megabytes per second. Started going down, down, down. The fans were booting up in this. At first I thought it was a thermal issue, so I put a huge box fan in front of it on full blast, and that didn't change anything. And then I actually put like a ice pack on it at one point on the bottom and the top, because there are heat sinks down here and a heat sink up here. And those were cool to the touch, and it was still not speeding up. So I really don't know why it was like throttling the speed of the transfer. Dumping the drone took an hour. It took an hour and 3 minutes to get all of the data off of this drone. Here's another thing. I was chatting with another pilot. He made a really good point in that When you're doing riskier shots with these things, there's a chance you might lose the whole drone. You change out the SD card. You pull the card out, put a new one in, and you have all that footage safe, the stuff that you've shot earlier in the day, right? In this case, you cannot do that because the SSD is built in, right? You would have to hand it over to the technician, wait 20, 30 minutes, however much you've already filmed on it, before you go and do that, whatever that risky flight is. You can't record ProRes onto a micro SD. You have to record it onto the internal SSD. Also, so many of the features are missing from this. Active Track, the new one, just doesn't exist. Master Shots doesn't exist. I wanted to do a hyperlapse the other day, couldn't do it. Button is there, press it, doesn't work. Coming in a future update. It's just confirming that these companies are trying to get products out before the holidays and selling it and getting into people's hands before it's ready is commonplace now. So that just happened recently with the GoPro Hero 10, where they don't even have 24 frames per second on at 5.3K. Like the only thing I wanted it for. I buy it and it's not even ready yet. Oh, future update, just wait for that update. No thanks. So she going back. Bye-bye. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to pay, $3,000 extra, $2,000 extra, whatever it is for the CINE model that has ProRes built into it? The tough part is you are forced into a package from DJI that includes the new smart remote, the super cool, ultra fast mega controller, whatever they're calling it. This remote is better than the first smart remote. I will say that. The sticks on it are so much smoother. It's so much cleaner feeling. Something about it. I just really, really like it. But it doesn't support FPV out, which means I can't use my FPV drones to display the video onto this remote. I still have to bring the original smart remote with me to show that. These sticks are a lot smoother and a lot cleaner. I like that a lot. The buttons on the back are really nice. That's where the sticks hide back there. When you buy the CINE package, you're strong-armed into getting this remote. Gosh, the remote that comes with the Mavic 3 non-CINE version is the same remote that comes with like the I think the Mavic Mini and like a couple other of the Mavics. And it's a very like low function remote. Like there's no LCD on it. There's no display for data. Like if your drone got disconnected or something like that, it would just, you would have no idea where it is, especially if your phone dies. You would have no telemetry data whatsoever. That's amazing to me that they sell a pro level craft with that remote. Amazing. So maybe wait until they are able to sell this by itself and then buy this. I'm sure you'll be forced to buy the other remote as well, but this is definitely a solid remote for the drone. I like it a lot. The bag is tough. The bag is cool. It's like fluffy suede or velvet or whatever inside. It has some cool compartments for batteries and then for the remote and then for the drone and then for miscellaneous. But the thing I don't love about it is that it converts into a backpack. I just don't need another backpack. I have so many of them. And the problem is you have to travel with the potential backpack inside of this sleeve. There's no way to remove these straps and all of the metal clacking around inside of there. So when you wear this as a satchel or a side bag, you have the potential for a backpack in this sleeve, whether you like it or not. And you pay like $300 for this. It's a nice bag. It is, and it's unique to DJI. They designed it, and I don't need it. I have so many other bags and so many other places I can put things designed for gear that I just don't need this. The CINE also comes with ND filters. In the past, you've sort of always had to buy separate third-party NDs. The problem is they just provide what they think that you want. So I get ND4, ND8, ND16, and ND32 in one half pack. And then the other half, it starts at 64, goes to 128, 256, and 512. These are for photographers. This is how I understand it, at least. So they can take long exposures during bright sunny days and get like motion. Say there's like a traffic scene, they can get vehicles blurring through the frame and everything else is clear. So that's great for them. But I think the highest I would ever use is potentially 64, unless I lived in the Arabian desert, and then I might go higher than that, but I don't. I live in the Northwest. So it'd be nice if I could have selected which ones I got, but because there's at least three in here that I'll never ever use. Side note, I would recommend getting one of these Sabrent.
This is gonna be a good day. Saber.
It's Saber. You sure it's Saber?
It's an NVMe drive, really nice, really fast. It's Thunderbolt 3, and just this enclosure is like $90. And then the drive, I have a 2 terabyte in here that was $200. So to have 1.5 gigabytes per second, like steady transfer speeds on my Mac for less than $300, I didn't know that was possible. So check them out. I'll link it in the description. Comment below. It does feel a bit more plasticky than the Mavic 2 before it. And I know they had to shave some weight off of this to at least advertise higher flight times. I'm not exactly experiencing 46 minutes, I think is what they advertised. I think I probably get 25, like high 20s pretty much on a flight on average. So it's definitely an improvement over the 2, but it's not 46 minutes. I mean, I'm not flying a straight perfect line with zero wind at 20 miles an hour, you know, in a wind tunnel. So you're not going to get the advertised flight times, but I don't think that's a surprise to anyone.